So over the last week, with Microsoft revealing pricing for the Series S and the Series X, there's been a lot of talk around just how cheap that Series S is and how much easier it is now to get into a next-gen platform as opposed to previously where we're dealing with like a $500 system with the Xbox One as an example. It's pretty compelling to see that Series S with all the features packed in at $300, but there's something that will come up eventually. And it's not even just for Microsoft and their Xbox Series. It's also going to be coming up for the PlayStation 5. Now, we had a leak that seemingly some people are backing right now, and it doesn't surprise me necessarily to see the pricing for this, but it is a bit unfortunate, and that has to do with the Xbox Seagate 1TB SSD expansion, the memory cards. So we're going to talk a bit about that here today. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like it down below. And if you're brand new here, also subscribe as we work towards next gen. There's going to be a lot more information coming out, especially over, I'll say, the next 2 weeks going into Tokyo Game Show. It's going to be a lot of fun here. So let's go over to the leak that is in question right now. And some people are backing it. So it seems that this pricing is right within reason for what it will be when it drops. You can see it here. This is for that Seagate 1TB SSD expansion, $219.99. That is for 1TB. Now, keep in mind, this is NVMe Gen 4, and that is not cheap in the first place, but there was hope that Microsoft would have been able to strike a better deal or something and get this anywhere between $150 and just $200 at the most. Going above that a bit. I mean, it should have us really look at those systems now, the Series X and even the Series S to a degree, and the PS5 having the storage that they have with the speed that it has at the current price, the X at $500, we assume the PS5 at $500 as well. Especially when you look at this, a memory card that's going to be $220. Now, Microsoft did, of course, go to Seagate. So you hear Seagate, you hear proprietary, all of these things kind of come together. We figured it was going to be a bit more expensive, right? Especially a 1TB SSD NVMe drive. This is going to catch some people off guard, I think, when they walk into the store. Because keep in mind, the Series S has 512 gigabytes of storage. As of now, we can only go with what we know currently with some of the file sizes, despite someone like Mark Cerny telling us the file sizes could go down with the SSD. And I hope they do. That would be massively helpful, right? We kind of have to sit here and say, well, all we know right now is that something like Call of Duty is going to guarantee us at least 100 gigabytes, even on like a regular Xbox One, right? It's pretty large. On PC, it's over 200 right now. I mean, how long is that 512 gigabyte SSD in that Series S really going to last, considering that's not even the space you'll get, since some of that will be partitioned for the OS itself. So then you bring in this 1TB SSD expansion, the little card, and trust me, people are going to look at that walk into the store, and it's going to be this tiny little thing, and they're going to say, it's $220 for that? This whole system is $300. I should just buy another system. But you take this SSD expansion, you pair it with the Series S, and all of a sudden they're getting rung up for over $500, more than what a Series X would cost them, and it would just have, 500 gigabytes less storage, because we'd have a Series S then with 1.5, and then naturally you'd have at least the option to upgrade to another terabyte down the road with the Series X. It is a weird situation. And look, Sony's not going to be immune to this either, because they're going to be using NVMe Gen 4. I mean, we've heard Mark Cerny talk about this, where they're going to give us our own little list of different compatible NVMe drives that we can use. And I'm sure a lot of us are looking at that and saying, oh, well, I'll just pick the cheapest one they have. What if the cheapest one on that list is like $250 for 1TB? It's possible with what the PS5 is doing. And I mean, some of Sony's history with their own memory cards with things like the Vita, they're not exactly known to have cheap cards, is what we'll say, in their systems. The one good thing here is we don't have to buy them seemingly right now directly from Sony. We'll just have to work within some sort of boundary that they set up for us. And naturally, I'm sure some people will test all kinds of different SSD NVMe drives for us, right? And they'll just pop them in. I assume the PS5 will test it and say, this is good or this is not good. And then we have to get another one. Mark Cerny said that some have heat sinks that may or may not be compatible. So now we're trying to figure out how it's even going to go into the PS5. The one thing I will give Microsoft with this situation there's a bit more convenience with a memory card that you buy and you pop in, as opposed to having to figure out which NVMe drive you can use and even how to install it. I'd like to think it's going to be similar to the older PlayStation 4 system or even the PS3, where you just pop the hard drive out. In this instance, it'll just be this little tray that comes out. You put the NVMe drive in there and you slide it back in. Who knows? Maybe there's a little slot on the back of the PS5 similar to what's on the Series X, but instead you just take the entire NVMe drive and just kind of slot it in. That teardown's gonna be real interesting for the PS5 is what I'll say. Now, there is word that we can transfer our games to a USB 3.0 hard drive locally to store the games. We just won't be able to play any of the next-gen games off of it. You can play any of the current-gen games like Xbox One or seemingly PS4 games off of it, but keep in mind, for the next-gen games, you will have to transfer them back to the internal storage on your PlayStation 5 or your Xbox Series S or X, because it wants to leverage, of course, the faster speed inside on that NVMe SSD. So we don't know how long it'll take either way, and it does seem like a bit of an inconvenience, obviously, compared to just taking your memory card, popping it in, and just playing games off of it. My hope, I think, is that after so long, Seagate won't be the only company making these different memory cards, and then you'll have like Western Digital, maybe, for example, get in the mix here, and maybe then prices will start to come down. I can only imagine over time of the whole generation, yeah, these memory cards probably will become cheaper to produce, and then eventually they'll get down there, because it's happened before. Like when the original Xbox 360 came out, that 20 gigabyte hard drive, I think, was like $100. Think about that. You go to the store and it's a 20 gigabyte hard drive, and it's seriously $100 just to buy it. It was crazy times back then, because now we're talking about a terabyte for like $220. So, and it's much faster than that old hard drive. But it's definitely going to be something that the parents walk into the store and are a little confused about, and probably a little off-put by it too. But we'll see what happens, especially when Sony shows off how we get to expand the storage there, and then we can compare further. And whenever Microsoft and Seagate decide to tell us about this pricing, it's probably not something they're rushing to do, because this does seem quite shocking for some people, I'll say, when they go into the retail stores. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.